Good evening, Britta. Welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm fine, Sean. Thank you. I'm really excited to be on your show.
Excellent, excellent. I want to go over a few things. You were in a couple bands prior. You have a new band, not newish. You've been in for a couple years, and you have a newer project you're in also, and you have a couple things you've been doing on the side. But before we get into that, let's start a little bit of a musical background so people become familiar, like where you're coming from. Like, did you grow up in a musical family, instruments? Some people have, families that know music, and then some people are like they grew up in almost like a band. You know, what about you?
My family is not like any instrument music lover at all. I think my parents probably listened more like to the radio and some disco music, maybe. My older brother is actually the person who got me into being interested. Like he sparked my interest in metal music. He is more than 10 years older than I am. And he was in a school band and played bass guitar, and I was really mesmerized when I saw like him on stage for the first time. I was like, wow, that's so cool. I was a really proud little sister. So he got me like kind of kickstarted into that kind of music, but I don't have any musical background. Like I'm the first one in my family, at least that I can recall that I know of, that's playing in bands and producing
Professional
music. Yes.
musician. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, congratulations, trendsetter. Um, so yeah, you love music. So your brother was obviously into metal too. What was it like? I'm trying to 10-year difference. I don't know. Zeppelin, Sabbathy, free at that
No,
time.
just a little more modern. Like he's a huge AC/DC fan, still like up to today, and Iron Maiden and stuff like that. So my first favorite harder band that I can recall was AC/DC, Iron Maiden. But then like I had a big love for Guns N' Roses, and
Mhm.
I had a mixtape that I don't know. I think my brother made it for me. And so on one side was Guns N' Roses, and on the other side, I had my favorite music back then, where I came from, was New Kids on the Block. So I had a split cassette with New Kids on the Block on the one side, and then Mr. Brownstone and stuff like that from the Appetite for
That's
Destruction
great.
album on the other side.
Well,
And
no, actually,
it's
that
this behavior is has stayed with me. Like when I looked at my like in the end of the year, Spotify and all the other platforms are giving you like what
mhm.
you listen to the most, like your mixtape kind of thing, and it's like it's all over the place. Like I if you look at my Instagram playlist, like you probably go, what?
No, I think it's great. I myself just watched the ABBA special, and then I'll get in
Mhm.
the car. I'll listen to something totally thrash or Testament. You know what I mean? You gotta love everything. You can't. There's no guilty music. That's just
Yeah,
that's
yeah, that's
that's a
true.
thing of the past. I'm not gonna let anybody shame me on my music. I think it's good. That so so obviously you are a little bit heavier than Guns N' Roses,
Mhm.
just a tad,
I hope so.
and and you have a voice that just can tear the pain off a wall, which is crazy fantastic. I don't even know. I want to just like clear my throat and drink something or a popsicle when I hear you sing like that. It's fantastic. How did you make the change from? Did you start singing like more of a metal singer and then kind of go that way into the really deep vocals?
I always knew that I was able to make these kind of sounds overall with
Hmm.
my voice. Like from my earliest childhood on, I can recall kind of making comic-y noises to all
Hmm.
kinds of things that I was seeing. I just wasn't aware that this would lead me into what I'm doing right now. So um, I didn't start as a singer. Like, I mean, obviously I like singing. I like singing a lot, uh, but the clean singing was never really my thing. So when I started singing in bands, like on a more like when I would put serious work into that, I knew that it was going to be screaming and shouting. What I didn't know back then when I started that was that all the voices that made these sounds, like most of them were men. I wasn't aware of that. I didn't pay
Hmm.
attention, so I found myself like, oh, where are all the no girls? What's here? Like I wasn't aware when I started. So anyhow, like
No, that's great. I mean, I think the first person I think I heard females doing that, Arch Enemy, you know,
yeah,
early,
Sabina from Holy
yeah,
Moses would
yeah,
probably be the first one.
yeah.
Yeah, but like since the like I feel like metal is such a good place. You can do whatever you want and just like expand your creativity and spread your wings and just take off and fly. So it's good to see that more girls are picking up instruments and
Yeah.
singing in different ways right now. But it was never a problem or so.
That's really cool. And obviously, doing the vocals that you do is, people will be like, "Oh, it's just I can do that." No, you can't. It's hard. No, but so you can do it. But for some people, everyone goes, "I can do it. I just gotta scream." Yeah, you scream for like 3 minutes, and your voice will be gone, and you can't maintain it. Clearly, there's more to it.
Yeah,
And I'm sure you
it's
do that.
a lot of training. A lot of training is required to do that. I mean, I teach that. Like half of my income, pays with teaching how to growl and scream. I'm a shout coach, so I don't know. I think I have like 50 students right now from all across the globe. Most of them online, obviously. Like in a
Oh yeah.
pandemic, that's a safe bet. But it's actually not difficult to make the sounds, but it's difficult to use them purposefully and also like to maintain a certain level of consistency and to go high and low and to alter between the different styles. It just takes training, but I wouldn't say that it takes more endurance than talent.
Well, I could imagine being like an hour, hour and a half, or however long the show is, and then be speaking the next day, or being at a club, or being in situations where the air's not great, normal things for your voice that make it harder, and then doing it again the next day and doing it again.
Yeah.
That is got to be a strength training situation, and
Yeah. It's like running a marathon. I mean, like for someone who's untrained, like it's difficult to achieve and to maintain. But I mean, like I'm probably singing like 24 hours a week like that, and I have never been more fit vocal wise than I'm now since I'm teaching. Yeah, because I do it so often. Yeah.
That's excellent. So we're going to put the link. We're going to talk. What we're talking about now. You are teaching that, and you also have. Why don't we just talk about your calendar too? Because on your merchandise page, your website merchandise page, you also
Yeah.
have this calendar.
I
Talk about this calendar.
it So I'm a vocal coach for metal singers, and I had this idea to create a weekly calendar for metal vocalists with like little tips for each week. And I had this idea like for like 2 years now. I wanted to do that, but I never found the time. And I said, damn, like I just got to take the time and make that. So I have a friend. We have never met in person, but like he's living in Brazil. His name is Alan, and he is an amazing illustrator. So we teamed up, and he did all the illustrations, and I did like the vocal tips and the calendar. And I mean, you can't learn obviously how to growl with a printed calendar, but it's just like a little reminder, like, okay, here's a weekly task or a weekly suggestion for like a training exercise that you can do to maintain your shape or reach some new heights and lows, whatnot. And yeah, it was fun to do that. It was also a lot of work, but I don't know, so many people bought it, and now are having fun with it and getting back to me and tell me like, that's really cute calendar. I like it.
It is really cute. I'm like, I should get that. Like, I think it's a crossover. It's not just vocals. I think because of how it's put together, a lot of people would like it. It's not just, for somebody who'd be a student of yours. The appeal is bigger on it.
Yes, that's true. But unless you have a little knowledge about or a little interest in singing metal kind of vocals, like it's probably it's a very specialized calendar for metal vocalists. Really, yeah.
It's pretty good. I gotta give you props on that one. That's such a good idea.
Thank you.
And it's very creative, and it's also on the page. It's all your vocal lessons that people can sign up and do. So we'll put the link under there for people to go check it out. Obviously, to learn how to do it.
Thank you.
Pretty awesome. And start on some of your heavier bands. So the first band that was your bigger band was it Cripper? Was the first probably your big band? How did you guys evolve into that? I know you're saying you're a smaller town. Was it likewise friends, musicians, or how?
I live in a town called Hanover in Germany, and I mean it's not a small town. It's a city. Wow. We have like 250,000 something people, but as far as the metal scene, you kind of know everyone.
No, I get that. That's what I meant.
With Cripper, it was different. Like I started, like I was looking for a band to start vocals in a band, and they put up an ad, and I didn't know them before, and I auditioned for a band that they shared their rehearsal room with, and the band I actually auditioned for wasn't for me, but they shared the room with 2 guitarists, and those guitarists happened to be Christian and Jonathan from later
Yeah.
on Cripper. So I was the third one to join the 2 guitarists, and then we started looking for a bass player and for a drummer, and yeah, started to write our first songs.
So you did.
And
So you actually did well in that audition. Then you got the band.
yeah,
The band that would last on you.
Yeah, like a couple of years later, the band leader of the band I auditioned for came to one of the Cripper shows, and he said, "Well, the reason why we didn't click was like your voice was so heavy, and we were looking more for like a rock singer." So he was really happy that he could point me towards those 2 guitars, and I was as well. So yeah, I started Cripper before it was Cripper.
And you guys were together for quite a while too. So you guys had some success.
Yeah,
couple albums and an EP, and some
14 years. 14 years.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So the feeling I got, I didn't dig dirt. Just feel like you guys probably got to a point where your band, some of you guys wanted to move forward, and some of you guys just want to do different stuff. And
yeah,
sounds like you guys are all still friends. You left on good a note. I mean, which is always good.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know if you ever have played in a band or in a in a group. So you probably know, like after you go, I mean, we put out 5 albums, 1 EP. We did several European tours. We got signed to Metal Blade and all these kinds of things that came after a long period of where we were sleeping in the backstage area, rolled into our sleeping bags, and I don't know, there's a brotherly, sisterly connection that is the band did disband as a band, but we didn't break our band. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, that's why it's interesting, because most bands don't always do that. I mean, anybody can be in a band and play musicians. I mean, obviously I didn't never know it to your level, but to get in a small car with somebody for an amount of time to do all the unfun stuff, the hour and a half on stage is awesome. But the rest of the day, the garbage and the legal stuff and the this and the that, and then stay friends with other people for that long is a true testament. And then that's usually where bands crack, is like, if I have to sit next to this guy one more time in the van with his stinky shoes or something crazy, I'm gonna go crazy, because I know you just break down to smallest things after a while. It just chips at the soul. So it's a real testament that you guys are still friends, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, we all live in the same town, in the same city, and see each other regularly and work on various projects. Like, for example, the upcoming music video that I will be doing with my current new project, Hiraes, will be filmed by Jonathan, who is the former guitarist in Cripper. So we work together creatively, even though we're not in a band anymore. But yeah, we're kind of stuck together for life.
That's good. No, that's good. I mean, if you build something for all those years, it's almost like, if it's like being married and like having kids, and then you get divorced and you guys don't talk, and neither of the people talk to their kids anymore. Like you want to have a good relationship. That's cool. So, and also, some of the guys didn't go forward, but you and the bass player did go forward by default and kind of evolved into Critical Mess.
No, we didn't evolve. The history in Cripper was like, some of the bands, or one of the band's guys, like he was growing more into his family and everything, so he didn't want to be on the road as much. I wanted, so I thought, okay, if I can't go out and play so often with Cripper anymore, I just look for a second band so I can just play more.
Okay.
So and then I got a phone call from my friend Marco, and he said, "Well, can you point me to one of your students? We're looking for a new singer because our singer had to quit." And I'm like, "You're still in Critical Mass, right?" And he was like, "Yeah." And you're playing like death metal and like really hard death metal, and he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "I'm gonna be your next singer." And he was like, okay. and that was the history. So like, it was just like that. So I joined Critical Mass in 2016. 2016. So there was like a 2-year overlap between the two bands, and Loma was already in Critical Mass. So we acquired Loma long before I had the idea to join Critical Mass for Cripper, and then I joined like his band, so we had 2 bands at the same time. And the disbanding of Cripper or me going into that band, that it doesn't have anything to do with each other. So it wasn't a plan. Like nothing evolved into each other. It's just circumstance that we happened to share the same bass player and singer.
I just figured when I meant dissolve, I felt like it was just like the band was slowing down, going its separate ways, in a good way, but you were starting to move on because there was an overlap in the thing. But that's even okay. And I think people should also check out all the Cripper stuff, because just because you're not a band anymore, some really good albums.
The music lives on, so yeah.
It does. It's just a really strong band. So I mean, it's just like an extension of who you are in Critical Mess. So you guys have a couple albums. You did
Human Prey was the first one, and then Man Made Machine Made Man.
And you have a EP, the zombie, right?
Yeah, zombie apocalypse.
I was like, So you have that out too right now.
Yeah, we have that out. It was like we were invited to do to participate in a TV show, and we were a game in a quiz. So we covered pop songs in death metal, and since the last year wasn't really successful on the live end for a certain pandemic that's going around the globe, we thought we'd just make the most of it, and we recorded some of the songs and put them on our Spotify to entertain a few people. And it was really, really fun to do that, like quite an experience. I'm really thankful that we had that opportunity to at least have one adventure as a band in the last year, which was otherwise pretty lame.
Are you guys right now, are separately writing or writing together, talking about maybe a new album with this downtime, like most bands?
Yeah, we meet online once a week. And then in small groups as two people to write together and to come up with riffs. I mean, we have really a bunch of riffs, like a couple of weeks ago we sat together and we listened to everything and sorted, like, okay, this is garbage, this is for the next album, this is garbage, this is for the next album. And so we're working on that. I must say that at the moment I'm finishing my vocal work with a new project, Hiraes, for our first album. So I kind of, I am not really aware what the guys in Critical Mess are all writing right now. I try to keep track, because right after I finish with Hiraes, the writing of the album, I will dive into the Critical Mess stuff and start writing for that.
The lead in action. So let's talk about Hiraes while we're talking about it. That's a good lead in. So you have another brand that you're doing.
Yes.
How did this come about, and where are we at with this project?
This band doesn't.
Full band? Is it a full band? Is it considered like a full band?
It's a full band.
Kind of a project that other guys are working on with you? A scheduling thing.
It's a full band that evolved from a different band. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the band Dawn of Disease.
No, not that one.
Well, they were also like signed to Napalm Records, like we are right now, and they disbanded and formed a new band minus the singer. So they were looking for a singer for their new project. And I received an email one day from the guitarist Lucas. He was like, well, I'm having a little musical project in mind, and your voice and your whole persona would fit very well with the project, I think. Would you be interested in like having a conversation on the phone? And it all sounded very interesting. So I said, okay, let's meet and rehearse for a couple of times and just feel if it clicks. I mean, the whole band doesn't live together in the same city, so it takes a little planning ahead to meet, because for me it's like a 2-hour drive, for someone else it's like a 2.5-hour drive, and so on. So it took a while, and then Corona hit, and then we could meet, and then we met once and it clicked, and then we just started writing songs over the internet. So Lucas, the guitar player, is the main songwriter. He writes all the stuff and then just sends out his finished guitar tracks, more or less. And then drums are coming in and everything, and I just more or less get the finished track and lay my vocals on it. And it's challenging for two reasons. The first challenge is I have never written any melodic death stuff. It's my first melodic death metal band, and I must say it works differently. I mean, even though it's still in the metal genre, it feels different to write stuff on a quite melodic instrumental
Yeah.
structure. So it feels different. Also, how I like the singing strategy, the technique that I'm using, like it's different to Critical Mass, which is very good because I wouldn't want to play in two bands that more or less require the same skills or have the same output. That doesn't make any sense. So
no, with the same sound, you'd almost be like you're in the same band because you'd be doing
exactly. So like
different songs with different people, but it's the same thing.
Yeah. So for me as a vocalist, it's challenging because it's new, not because it's necessarily difficult, but it's just a new taste to it. It's like cooking a new recipe for the first time. It's so that's kind of like challenging, plus the factor that we can't see each other so often and rehearse the songs. So we write the songs, every person in their own field, and then we go and record it without the song ever being played. And that's kind of weird because I feel like one day it's like, I really love this tune, like it's awesome and it's all gonna be great, and then the next day it's like, is it really great? Like I'm questioning myself, like is it really like the best thing for the sound? And yeah, that's it's a very intense and fun experience at the moment.
Are you guys going to do some gigs afterwards once this is over?
Hopefully. I mean, like we have a booking agency, and they are already starting to look for tours that we can hop on as a support, but who knows when tours will be happening again. I mean, like our Critical Mass tour with Atheist is like moving into the future for the third time now, so who knows. Like I hope so. Yeah, we want to play a lot. I would not probably not join a band without playing it live. I don't think so.
Yeah, well, just doing the internet sounds like you're like a future death band, future death metal band. You know, just on the internet is kind of weird for that kind of music too. You know.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like especially the Corona phase has brought many unexpected collaborations. I'm still having like 4 more collaborations to do before, like after the album, and it's kind of cool because there might be even an electro little thing experiment coming up shortly, but I laid down vocals for a very crazy jazz track, which I'd never done before, and that was so much fun. Like I can tell you, it's quite a year.
Well, at least creatively you had some good stuff coming out too, so that's good.
Yeah.
You were actually and it looks like you've been on a couple albums too. You know, guest vocals on a couple albums, Drone and the video for that one. That's a pretty cool video. In 3 or 4 other bands, so you like to collaborate, obviously, and you like to kind of do stuff differently.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, like it makes you a better musician all the time, like to work with other people and to see their approach and hear their approach on music. And it's different to listen to a band and to work with the musicians who write it, because every person has a different approach. Everyone communicates differently in a band, and that just adds to the spectrum. I mean, like I have no musical classical training in the narrower sense, so I don't have I can't express myself in notes or in sheets. So whenever you're in a band, and I think many metal bands work like that, you have your own language, like you go like padang 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 kadish kadish and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's a coded language within a band, and it varies from band to band. So that's always interesting to sneak peek into that and see like how they communicate and what kind of language they have come up with to express themselves to the others. And that's always really interesting.
I think guitarists probably hear it the most, like from vocalists. I'll be like, "This is the sound I want." And, you know, they're describing it like you describe a car sound or something. You know what I mean? To the mechanic, you're like, it goes clang, clang, clang. Like that, so they have to like decipher what you're doing in your head. You know?
Yeah. That reminds me of something. Do you know this? It went viral like, I don't know, a zillion years ago, where Killswitch Engage are on YouTube talking about their new album, and they are like just beatboxing the whole album, and that's kind of like not on that level, but that's kind of like how we communicated, like something like that. You just think I'm attending a show as much as playing, because
it's like therapy.
Of the energy release. I'm a very energetic person. My mom once told me, "Well, I've fed you batteries at a young age, so now you're still charged." So that's I I feed from it. Like I really need that, and this is for the people to enjoy concerts, to enjoy going to the theater, to the opera house, to
Mhm.
go see a movie. Like all these cultural, social things are very important for a
Yes.
healthy mind, and just to, I don't know,
But
to
all you think about the
mentally stable,
mhm,
and for the people who really need that, maybe even for people who are alone, they lose social contact over
mhm.
time. And also like just like touching someone else, not like romantically, but like
I know.
just as a buddy,
Human.
and hug, and I don't know, poke in a mosh pit or something like that. It's a human interaction. We are social animals, so we need that. And after a year of almost lockdown, you feel like kind of robbed of an essence as a human being. And I hope that when we get out of the end of the tunnel and we go back into a new normal life, that we won't have forgotten about the values of that, because it's
No,
really
I
something
agree.
to cherish and to embrace, and to like really, wow, okay, I can't play overseas, but damn, I can play that hot, sweaty, dripping bar gig downtown, and I'm just gonna enjoy that, and not,
Yeah.
like look what everyone else has to do. Let's just be happy with what I have. And thank you again. It's a great
Yeah.
thing that you're doing that, and enjoy your journey with